Joel Edmondson, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
So look, I've brought you in because you're a very important person in the music industry of Queensland and Australia. I saw you on that top 50 list somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's important to get on that list.
It's a moment when you get on that list. You're the CEO of QMusic, which also facilitates the annual Big Sound Conference. What else can you tell me about yourself? Fun fact?
I really like stripy shirts. Oh, we're both wearing one at the moment.
Oh my God,
You got
twinsies!
the memo.
Too cute.
Yeah.
Cool. So look, the topic we're going to talk about today, obviously you're CEO of a company like QMusic, and I often talk to my indie artists about the need to run their careers as if they are a CEO. So what I wanted to ask you today is, what kind of mentality do you think that they need to have in order to do that?
I think everything is about mindset. So everything in this world that we create starts with our brains and how well they work. So I think having an attitude of being a lifelong learner is really, really important. And increasingly you see more established people in the industry starting to come back into a cycle of needing to renew their own learning because everything's changing so much. And I think it's easy to, in any profession, become arrogant that you've kind of made it and you're important and you know something, when really, like, you know, there are kids around today who know so much more than anyone else because of their grasp of the technology that's coming through. I think just having a really clear idea of what it is that you want to achieve is really important, particularly as an artist. Like, what is my identity in terms of crafting a product for your audience and being really clear who your audience is. I always say to artists that the real tension in creating a career as an artist between being really, really true to your creative vision and not really compromising on that, but at the same time understanding that you're creating something for a market and that there's a tension between those two things that you're always kind of trying to reconcile. I think having a clear plan or set of plans for what you're going to try and achieve is important, so you're not just sort of wandering from thing to thing, but you've actually got a strategy of some sort is really, really important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I like what you said about, you know, knowing your identity. I mean, I think when I work with artists, I often see a bit of a lack of cohesion around their identity. What do you think are the markers of, you know, of a clear identity being expressed?
Well, it's that the music and the visual brand fit together clearly, and then the story that's being told through PR is kind of, you know, cohesive in that sense too. There's nothing that ruins an artist's career more, I think, apart, you know, obviously your music's got to be great, but, you know, bios that make no sense or make grandiose claims like this band is, you know, the new greatest rock band on earth, you know, people don't take that stuff very seriously.
Yeah, it's kind of, a bit meaningless, isn't it? You've got to be able to back those kind of statements up.
Yeah, well, I think having a story that people can relate to is much more important than telling people how important or good you are. Your music should speak for itself. Any band that needs to, you know, convince people with words about how good their music is needs to work on their music.
Yeah, very, very true. And look, in your day-to-day work, I know obviously you've had to cultivate all these skills, practical skills, you know, that are actually usable qualities. What kind of practical skills would indie artists need to utilise, do you think?
This probably sounds more abstract, but relationships are everything, and learning how to really understand the mindset of other people. So really developing a service-based mentality where you understand that it's not about the whole world supporting your genius. You're actually doing something that other people benefit from as well, so it's reciprocal. So really understanding how other people think and learning to negotiate and work with other people whose way of looking at the world may be very, very different from yours is like super, super important. But at a more base level, you can't outsource being organised. And ultimately, you've got to, you know, like learn to look at what you're doing as a business and, you know, like reply to emails and just do basic things that human beings need to do to get things done.
Yeah, and I think that's a real tricky one for some artists, but, you know, the ones who are the most organised definitely seem to get ahead. You know, if two musicians have identical talent in some respects, the organised one will always go further, hey?
Yeah, no question. Yeah.
So let's try to sum that up. What would be the key takeaway point from what we've just discussed, do you think?
I think the key takeaway point is probably around not being able to outsource being organised, and you really need to take responsibility for the future of what you're doing, which isn't just about making the music. It's about how you position yourself in relationship to other people and learn to work with others.
Yeah, very true. All right, I'm going to ask you a little fun question now. If you were stuck on a desert island for the rest of your life and could only take one album with you, what album would you take?
Can I say that it's a competition between two albums?
Absolutely.
Probably either Van Morrison Astral Weeks, his first record, which is a real favourite of mine, or an album by a group from the US called Stars of the Lid, and Their Refinement of the Decline, which is a more kind of soothing orchestral kind of record. Something that would make me feel kind of peaceful or nostalgic. I think that's what I'd want to listen to.
Yeah, well, if you had to listen to it for the rest of your life, that would probably be a good idea. I can't believe you said Astral Weeks. I absolutely love that album. I grew up to that album.
Yeah, same.
So, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate your time.
No worries.